The first light of dawn slid across the African savanna like a slow, golden wave. It touched the tops of tall grasses, made dewdrops shine like tiny stars, and painted the dusty ground in warm shades of amber. For a moment, the world felt completely still. Even the wind seemed to pause, hanging in the air as if deciding whether to breathe again. The night sounds faded, and the soft morning calls of distant birds rose in their place. Echoing gently across the open plains, in the middle of this peaceful scene, stood a small elephant calf. Only a few months old, still learning how to balance his heavy body on legs that felt too long and too wobbly. He followed closely behind his mother, brushing her tail with his trunk as he moved. Every step he took seemed full of curiosity. He stopped to swat at a butterfly with his tiny trunk, then jumped when it floated past his eyes like a drifting flower petal. His mother rumbled softly to him, her deep voice vibrating through the warm air. It was a reminder for him to stay close, but also a comfort one that told him the world was safe, at least for now, not far away. On the other side of a small cluster of thorn bushes, another family was waking. A mother rhino stood quietly, her thick skin catching the morning light, making her look as if she were carved from stone. Her young calf nuzzled her side, trying to pull at the short grass with tiny, uncertain bites. The rhino mother watched the horizon with calm but alert eyes. A habit she had learned over years of surviving in a land where danger often hid in quiet places. Though elephants and rhinos did not usually interact much, both families shared the open plains peacefully, bound together by the simple routine of life feeding, protecting, listening, and waiting for the heat of day. The elephant calf, still discovering the world, wandered just a bit ahead of his herd. The grass brushed his belly as he took bold, unsteady steps, each movement sending little clouds of dust swirling around his feet. He lifted his trunk and sniffed the air, tasting the morning breeze the way elephants do, smelling the damp earth, the sweet scent of nearby acacia trees, and the distant, watery smell of the river. Everything felt alive and safe to him. Everything felt new, but the savanna had secrets this morning. Hidden deep beneath a cluster of still shrubs, something ancient waited. Wrapped in perfect silence lay a rock python, its thick patterned body nearly invisible in the shadows. It had been there since before sunrise, motionless except for the slow rise and fall of its breath. Its eyes, unblinking and cold, followed the small elephant calf with a patience that only a predator could hold. It had no hurry. It only needed the right moment. The elephant mother paused. She lifted her trunk and swept it across the air, searching for something she couldn't yet see. Her ears widened, listening for a sound too soft for human ears. Elephants feel danger long before it appears through the ground, through vibrations in the air, through the tiniest shifts in mood from the herd around them. And now something felt off. The morning peace was still there, but it felt thin, stretched out like fabric ready to tear. The rest of the herd seemed to feel it too. A few adults slowed their movements. One of the older elephants tapped her foot against the ground in an uneasy pattern. The leader of the herd, the matriarch, turned slightly, scanning the grasslands with calm but steady focus. She didn't know where the danger was coming from. She only knew it existed. The elephant calf, unaware of the tension building behind him, continued his little adventure. He found a patch of soft mud and gave it a joyful stomp, splashing it up onto his legs. He squeaked in delight and stomped again. The world was a playground to him. Wide and bright and full of things he didn't understand yet. His mother took a few steps closer, keeping him in sight. But even a few steps in the savanna can become too many when danger is waiting. Near the thorn bushes, the rhino mother also paused. She lifted her massive head and sniffed the wind. Her ears twitched, turning like small radars. Her calf pressed against her leg, confused by her sudden stillness. She snorted a deep breath, sending dust into the air. She didn't recognize the danger, but she felt the tension creeping across the plains like a slow-moving shadow. The rock python shifted. It was the first real movement it had made in hours. The coils tightened, then relaxed, preparing for the perfect strike. Pythons are patient hunters. They don't need speed. They need timing. And now, the small elephant calf was drifting just far enough from his mother, Far from the herd, far from safety, the morning air grew strangely quiet. Even the birds seemed to sense the shift. Their calls softened until they were barely more than whispers on the wind. The herd moved in slow, uncertain steps, pulled forward by both routine and instinct. The rhino mother positioned herself between her calf and the open grass, her breathing steady but alert. The elephant calf took another few steps, his ears flapping with excitement over nothing at all. His mother rumbled again, a little louder this time. He heard her, but only as background noise. The world was full of interesting things, and he wanted to see them all. He reached the edge of the tall grass, the boundary between safety and something much darker. The python's eyes narrowed. A soft breeze swept across the plains, carrying with it the scent of dust, earth, and something sharp and ancient. The elephant mother froze. Her trunk snapped into the air, tasting the danger in a way only she could understand. The elephant calf took one more innocent step forward, and behind him, the grass stirred. It was gentle, just a tiny movement, almost nothing. But it was enough. Enough to make the mother rhino lift her head sharply. Enough to make the elephant herd hold their breath. Enough to make the world, for a split second, go silent. The calm of the morning broke, but only to those who knew how to listen. In that fragile moment, the savanna held its breath, because fate had begun to move, and something ancient, something powerful, was about to strike. The attack began with a sound so soft it barely existed. A whisper of grass, a breath of movement. Then everything happened at once. The python exploded out of the brush in a blur of brown and gold, its scales shining like wet stone as it launched forward. Before the elephant calf could even turn his head, the giant serpent wrapped around him, one thick coil after another snapping into place with terrifying force. The calf let out a short, sharp cry, not yet a scream, more like a gasp. And then the world erupted. Dust shot into the air in giant clouds as the calf thrashed helplessly, his small legs kicking against the ground. The python tightened its grip, its muscles, ancient and unstoppable, squeezed around the calf's chest and belly, crushing the breath from his tiny lungs. The calf's eyes went wide, filled with confusion and fear he had never known before. His trunk reached out blindly for his mother, but his body was pinned. Trapped inside the living vice of the python, his mother heard his cry. Her head snapped toward him. For a heartbeat, she froze, as if she couldn't believe the nightmare unfolding right in front of her. Then she released a roar so powerful it shook the air itself. It was not a warning. It was not a call. It was pure, wild terror from a mother who knew she might already be too late. She charged forward, massive ears flared, feet pounding the earth with enough force to send tremors through the ground. The rest of the herd followed, trumpeting in panic, trying to surround the calf, trying to help, trying to reach him. But their size worked against them. Every step shook the ground, and every shockwave made the python tighten even more. The serpent coiled harder, reacting to the chaos around it. Pressing down with ancient instinct, squeeze until the struggling stops. The calf's squeals grew weaker, thinner. His trunk trembled. His legs kicked once, twice, then slowed. Dust swirled around the herd in thick brown clouds, blinding them, choking the air. The mother elephant rammed the ground near the python, trying to break its grip without crushing her baby. She lifted one massive foot, but she couldn't place it. The python lay too close, its coils wrapping too tightly around the fragile body she had carried for 22 months. One wrong move could break him. The matriarch trumpeted deeply, a desperate call that echoed across the plains. The herd shoved closer, searching for any way to help. But the python was too fast, too low, too wrapped. The calf's small chest rose in short, frantic bursts. His tail twitched once, then fell still, and somewhere at the edge of the plains, a shadow turned its head toward the sound. The mother rhino had heard the first scream. She had felt the vibration through the ground, sharp, quick, filled with terror. Her calf pressed nervously at her side, but she stepped forward, nose lifted, ears turning like small satellites as she searched for the source. The dust rising in the distance caught her eye first. Then she heard the trumpeting, deep, powerful, panicked. She knew that sound. It was the voice of a mother losing her child. She did not hesitate. She pushed her calf behind a thick bush, giving him a quick, rough nudge to stay hidden. Then she lowered her head, angled her horn forward, and began to run. Back in the chaos, the elephant calf was slipping. His eyes fluttered as the python's coils pressed harder, crushing his ribs. His small mouth opened in a silent gasp, desperately trying to draw air that could no longer reach his lungs. The python adjusted its grip again, squeezing with slow, deadly precision. The mother elephant tried again to wedge her trunk between the coils. But the serpent struck out at her, its head whipping forward with a hiss. She jerked back in shock. The herd roared and pushed in panic, but there was no opening, no angle, no safe way to break the serpent's hold. And then, through the swirling dust, a deep snort cut through the chaos like thunder. The mother rhino burst into the scene at full speed. For a split second, everything paused, even the dust seemed to hang in midair. The mother elephant turned her head sharply, surprised by the sudden arrival of this powerful stranger. The python sensed the movement too and lifted part of its body just enough to see what approached. It was the only mistake the serpent made. With a furious bellow, the mother rhino slammed forward, her horns striking the python's midsection in a violent blow that echoed across the plains. The snake's body whipped upward, coils loosening in shock. The rhino struck again, sharper this time, aiming directly at the thickest part of the python's body. Her strength was incredible: raw muscle, ancient armor, stoppable force. The python recoiled, its grip on the calf finally slipping. The calf collapsed onto the ground, gasping, legs twitching weakly. The mother elephant rushed forward, sweeping her trunk around him, shielding him with her enormous body. She let out a low, shaking rumble that trembled with fear and relief. The python, wounded and stunned, slid backward in panicked retreat, trying to escape the horned fury that had torn through its attack. But the mother rhino wasn't satisfied. She charged again, driving the serpent farther away until it disappeared into the tall grass, leaving only the dusty trail of its escape. When the rhino finally slowed, her sides heaving with exhaustion, she stood still for a long moment. Dust settled around her like falling ash. Her ears flicked. She looked toward the elephant calf lying in the dirt. The mother elephant was bent over him, nudging his small body with her trunk, urging him to breathe, urging him to stay. The calf trembled, coughing weakly, each breath a thin, ragged whisper. His eyes opened slowly, filled with pain but also with life. The mother rhino watched quietly. Her horn lowered, her breath deep and rough. She took one slow step forward, then stopped, as if unsure whether she was welcome. But the mother elephant lifted her head and met the rhino's gaze. For a moment, the two mothers stared at each other, not as rivals, not as strangers, but as guardians who understood the same ancient truth. Child in danger is every mother's concern. The rhino bowed her head once, a simple, respectful gesture, then turned away, disappearing into the settling dust. To find her own calf waiting in the brush, the elephants stood in a loose circle, surrounding the injured young one, their low rumbles vibrating through the warm ground. The calf leaned into his mother, eyes half closed. Breathing slow and shallow but steady above them, the morning sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the plains, shadows shaped by courage, fear, and the quiet bond between two very different mothers. And for the first time since the attack began, the savanna exhaled. For several long seconds, the savanna doesn't move. Dust hangs in the air like pale smoke, drifting slowly through the fading light. The only sound is the thin, shaky breathing of the elephant calf, lying on his side where the python had wrapped around him only moments ago. His tiny chest rises in short, uneven shudders. His ears twitch weakly. He is alive, but only just. Every breath seems to cost him more strength than he has left. A few meters away, the thick coils of the defeated python slide back through the tall grass. Its muscles ripple under patterned scales, pulling its heavy body toward the shadows. It is not wounded, only exhausted, outmatched by a mother's fury and a rhino's unexpected charge. The giant snake disappears into the brush with a final whisper of grass, leaving behind nothing but a trail in the dust. In the echo of fear, the mother elephant stands frozen, her sides heaving, her trunk trembling from the adrenaline still burning in her blood. Moments ago, she had fought with everything she had, driven by a kind of courage that lives only in Mother's Anne, instinctive fire. But now, as she looks down at her fallen calf, that fierce strength collapses into a deeper, quieter terror. She takes a careful step forward, then another, as if afraid that even her breath might hurt him. And then she sees the rhino. The two mothers face each other across the dusty clearing. They are both huge, powerful creatures, coated in dirt, shaking from the battle. They should see each other as rivals, maybe even threats. But right now, something softer moves in the warm, trembling air between them, something older than instinct, older than species. The elephant lifts her head. The rhino lifts hers. There is no sound, no warning, no display of dominance. Only a slow, steady breath from each of them. Almost like a shared sigh. A mother's sigh. A sigh of fear, of relief, of gratitude that no words could ever shape. For just a heartbeat, the vast savanna seems to shrink around them, leaving only two mothers who had both risked everything for a life smaller than their own. The rhino blinks first. She turns, her horn catching the last rays of the sun, and walks back to where her own calf waits nervously near a cluster of acacia trees. The young rhino steps forward as soon as he sees her, brushing his warm, round face against her leg. She nudges him back, not harshly, but with gentle insistence, checking him, counting his breaths, making sure each one comes easy. When she's certain he's safe, she lifts her head again, looking back toward the elephant herd as, reminding the plains that kindness can come from the most unexpected corners. The elephant herd finally approaches. They move slowly, almost reverently, their great bodies arranged in a protective circle. Each footstep is silent on the soft earth, each trunk lowered with respect, as though the whole family understands the fragility of this moment. The matriarch reaches the calf first. Her skin is wrinkled with decades of survival, her eyes clouded but wise. She leans down, touching the calf's small head with the tip of her trunk. A soft rumble vibrates through her chest, low, warm, steady. It is a sound that elephants have used for thousands of years to comfort their young. One by one, the others follow. A trunk brushing his side. A gentle sniff around his ears. A quiet hum of reassurance. The calf tries to move. His legs twitch beneath him. His trunk curls weakly toward his mother's shadow. He is fragile but not broken. His breaths grow deeper as the herd surrounds him, forming a living fortress of love and protection. For a moment, it feels as if the whole world has placed its hands around this one tiny life, guarding it from the cruelty that had almost taken it. The mother elephant folds her legs and lowers herself to the ground. Beside him, a rare gesture of vulnerability for an animal her size. She leans her massive head against his small body, giving him her warmth, her heartbeat, her strength. Her trunk drapes protectively over him, as tender as a blanket. The calf's breathing steadies, matching the slow rise and fall of hers. The sky begins to change. Sunset spreads across the plains like soft watercolor deep crimson mixing with gold. Melting into the purple dusk, the long grass glows as if lit from inside, waving gently in the evening wind. Birds settle onto branches. Wildebeests gather in distant silhouettes. Even the insects seem too quiet, as though honoring the calm after the storm. From a distance, the rhino mother stands with her calf, both shapes dark against the burning sky. She watches the elephant family for a long, thoughtful moment. Her ears twitch. Her calf shifts beside her, nudging her leg. She responds with a warm grunt, almost a lullaby, and the two of them begin to graze again. But her gaze lingers. Some silent piece of her seems to understand that today. Survival was shared not through strength alone, but through mercy. The camera drifts upward, slowly widening the view. The elephant herd remains in its tight circle, still humming soft vibrations of comfort. The mother elephant does not rise. She stays right where she is, breathing with her calf, letting her presence be the medicine he needs most. The calf's eyelids flutter, His tiny tail twitches. His breath, once thin and broken, is now steady. Hope is returning inch by inch. Farther out, the rolling plains stretch quietly toward the horizon. The land seems almost at peace, washed in warm colors, washed in gratitude. Even the air feels different, lighter, as if the savanna itself has taken a deep breath after holding it far too long. Night approaches. The first stars appear above the acacias, shimmering like tiny fires in the cooling sky. The wind softens. The world slows. And in that gentle pause, something unspoken settles over the land, a kind of understanding that does not need language. Today, a calf survived. Today, two mothers stood together. Today, mercy proved stronger than fear. The calf shifts again. Pressing his small body closer to his mother's, she lowers her trunk to brush his cheek, a touch as soft as dusk. The herd sighs around them, a circle of patience and love. The plains grow quiet, and in that quiet, nature whispers a truth older than any creature who walks upon it. Strength keeps a life going, but mercy saves it.